Hello, everyone. Welcome back to part two of my gaming history video series, talking about the NES in this episode. Talked about the Atari 2600 on the last episode, so NES for now. Picked up the NES in 1988, and like I said in the previous video, I was given an Atari 2600 by my grandparents to kind of tide me over until I was able to get a Nintendo Entertainment System. So again, played it at my uncle's house, really liked it, then really wanted one, so I actually saved money for the NES, just doing chores and odd jobs around the house, that kind of stuff. Eventually saved up about $80 towards the cost of the NES. I don't remember what it cost, and I think it was at least like 200 probably. Maybe it may have been more, because the one we got was the classic gray one, two controllers, Zapper, and Mario and Duck Hunt. So not sure what that retailed for. I'm thinking it was again at least 200. But we picked that up in about October of 1988, and again saved up about $80 for it. And I remember the night we got it. We got it late at night because I think my dad had come back from work, and had picked it up, and it was maybe like around 8 o'clock at night or something like that. And I don't remember what time I went to bed that night. Maybe 9 or 10. But we got it set up. Played some Mario. Played some Duck Hunt. Went to sleep, and then I'm generally not a morning person at all. Even when I was a kid, my parents would wake me up for school. I would, like kind of like sleep like an extra 5 or 10 minutes, go have breakfast, come back, lay in bed a little bit longer, and then eventually get up and get ready for school. So when we got the NES, I remember the first. This is probably the first time I can remember actually. As soon as my parents woke me up for school, got out of bed immediately, ate breakfast, didn't go back to bed or anything like that. Went and played a few games of Mario, played some Duck Hunt as well, and then went to school. So that was the first time I remember actually getting up early to play a video game that I had got like a day before. I remember doing it again when my grandparents in 1989 had sent me a copy of Mario 2, the one that was basically a reskin of, I think it's called Doki Doki Panic or whatever it was, and it got Mario 2 was deemed too hard, I think, for U.S. audiences, the actual Mario 2. So they took this other game and reskinned it. They added in Mario characters, changed a few things around, and released that as Mario 2 instead of what became the Lost Level. So got that, and then again woke up early the next day to play that one as well. So going down my notes here, let's see. So for a few weeks, I only had Mario and Duck Hunt, and then my grandparents came out for a visit, and they actually um, bought or bought me the Legend of Zelda, the original Legend of Zelda, and of course, like a lot of people, I didn't read the instruction manual and thought you were actually playing the game as Zelda. So I'm like, oh yeah, there goes Zelda on the screen, and my parents were like, I don't think that's Zelda, because Zelda's obviously like a lady's name. So they looked at the book and they're like, oh no, that's Link. So of course I made that mistake thinking Zelda or Link was Zelda and whatnot. Luckily, I no longer made that mistake, but I know people that obviously did make that same mistake that I did of calling him that instead. Um, Picked up a copy of Nintendo Power as well. I think my uncle had a subscription to it or was going to get one and gave me the premiere issue. It had Mario 2 on the cover. It's kind of like the claymation style cover with Mario and Wart. I remember there was being stuff in there for Legend of Zelda, stuff in there on Mario 2. I think the initial issue also has some stuff in there. It may have been strategies for Double Dragon. Nintendo Power, basically they would cover stories would be like, hey, here's like a whole like article about this game, some strategies for it. There was like cheat code section, I think called like the NES Achievers, which was basically high scores. People would take pictures of their high scores and send them in, and all kinds of stuff. And then various articles and sometimes celebrity interviews with gamers and whatnot. It's a really good magazine. I think I had a subscription from 1988 until around 1993. I think maybe 1994. I think it may have been 93, because I basically got rid of the magazine or stopped subscribing to it because most of the focus has switched from NES to SNES, and at that time I didn't have a Super Nintendo. Didn't actually get a Super Nintendo until 1994 for my birthday, and then I don't think I bothered subscribing again to the magazine for a while. I think I had a subscription maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and it was, I think, an Amazon subscription to where you could subscribe to. It was like $10 for like 12 issues of Nintendo Power. I subscribed to that. I think it was Xbox Magazine as well as PC Gamer. and I had subscriptions for them for like a year or two, and then eventually got rid of those as well. Um, I've had like I think every major Nintendo console with the exception of the Wii U. I don't know why I didn't get a Wii U. I think it was probably because at that time I was focusing more on PC gaming and not necessarily console gaming. But right now, the only current generation console I have is a Nintendo Switch. But again, back to the discussion of the NES. So for again, initial game was Mario and Duck Hunt, then got The Legend of Zelda. For Christmas that year, I got Excite Bike. My parents picked me up Excite Bike. Really liked it because you could create your own levels. There were like different modes you can play as. So Excite Bike's a lot of fun, especially when you basically have almost unlimited replayability when you basically can create your own tracks. So that was a Christmas gift I got in 1989 in Excite Bike. Around this time, I think like this may have been 1989 at this point. Oh, and then also for Christmas, I got my own subscription to Nintendo Power. I think the first issue I ended up getting because again I had my uncle's initial copy of issue one, and then I think the first or second copy I got was the one that either had Track and Field on the cover or Castlevania 2. So the Castlevania 2 art issue had Simon with like a beheaded Dracula, and there's like body parts everywhere, like a heart and an eyeball. Apparently, Nintendo got a bunch of complaints from parents because that cover gave kids nightmares and whatnot. I still have all these magazines around somewhere. They're in a box, but um, got it was either I don't remember which one came first, if it was Track and Field or Castlevania, but I have both of those issues. So I think when I got the subscription, I like for Christmas it was like it was packaged. So I think like my parents had subscribed to it maybe a month or two before Christmas, and they took both issues and kind of gave them to me as a gift, and then be like, you now have the subscription to this magazine, which was a really great magazine. Um, so that was, and then around the same time, the grocery store, the one of the major grocery stores in town, there was two, but one of them started offering video game rentals for NES games. So first game I remember renting, I only played it this one time was Jackal by Konami. You're driving around like a jeep with like a lot of like guns on it and you're firing and stuff. Basically, like I think it's based on an arcade game, but it's a top-down shooter. Didn't do particularly well in it, but I remember it being fun, but not fun enough that I would buy it. Um, Rented a bunch of games from the store over the years. One game I rented, which was almost impossible to rent without the instructions, was Star Tropics. So I remember playing Star Tropics and getting stuck on the part where you would have to dip the letter in water to get like it was like a weird copy protection kind of thing. I think it was copy protection, probably that, but never had the letter in the rental version, so that's I basically got stuck at that point and couldn't progress. So that was like a weird thing where basically you had a physical thing that you needed in order to actually play the game. I remember in like the early 90s when I would play PC games occasionally, there would be these weird copy protection systems. Like SimCity had a card with all the cities on it, and it would say like what city. It's like what is the city code for New York, and you have to like look at the chart and be like, all right, New York is this symbol, and this symbol. Or next one might be like, what's the city code for London, and you would look at it and type it in. X-Wing had the X-Wing PC game had a copy protection thing where it was basically what symbol appears on this page kind of thing. You had to type it in as well. But rented a bunch of games for the NES over the years from the grocery store. I remember renting DuckTales, the original DuckTales game, which was a lot harder than I remember, even without playing it for like a year. So I rented it when it came out, almost beat it, but then I think I had to turn the TV off because we had to go somewhere or something. Um, I got to the moon level, had all the treasures up until the moon. I think I got to the boss of the moon and actually beat that, and then we had to leave, so I wasn't able to do like the final thing. About a year later, I rented it again and brought it over to a friend's house, and we couldn't even beat. I think we got like couldn't even beat one of the levels, or we maybe beat a couple, but it was definitely it felt like a year had passed, and I had gotten much worse at that particular game. Um, Kind of regret not buying that game though, because it's really great. I have the remastered version on Steam, which is the same game, but it's like hand drawn, like updated graphics and all that. So again, rented a lot of games from the grocery store. Again, and then we're jumping into 1989. Um, my grandparents, I mentioned earlier, had bought me a copy of Mario 2. I remember vividly. We got it in the mail, and it was a day I had a dentist appointment. So basically, We went to the dentist. We had the copy. We had the game like in the car, like in that day's mail. Went to the dentist, got my dental checkup or whatever it was, and then rushed home immediately to start playing Mario 2. Um, really enjoyed Mario 2. Like that, it had four characters, and then each character had its own kind of different abilities. Mario was kind of generally the most well balanced, I think. He didn't have any kind of particular abilities, but Luigi can jump really high. Princess Toadstool, I think she was still called Toadstool at the time, could kind of float. So you would have to use certain characters in certain situations. Um, I think most notably was Peach or Toadstool because you would have to. There's a level where you have to jump and hover and fly across something that none of the other characters can really get to. So you would do that, and then I think it was like a secret area, like it was like a warp zone or something. But I remember waking up again early the next day. That I had school the next day and got up early just so I could play that game. So again, now we're into kind of like the 1989 area. Um, this is when Ninja Turtles came out, so I got the Ninja Turtles Konami game. The side scroller, there was some top down stuff as well. I was never able to get past the electrified seaweed level. So I remember being able to beat the first level, the one where you're in the city and you're going into different buildings and sewers, fairly easily. The first part of the dam level, I was able to beat that part fairly easily as well. But then I just remember getting really frustrated with the electrified seaweed. I think eventually a friend came over, or I brought the game over to a friend's, and they were able to beat it, and we were able to continue playing the game. I don't think I ever beat the game, but I just remember that electric seaweed and defusing those bombs was just a real pain. So there was that. My one of my older grandparents got me another game as well, which was the Mickey Mouse Capades game. This is in a time when I was really into Disney, just like anything Disney related, specifically stuff with Mickey Mouse. But Capcom had also made, and this is probably before Ducktales, so some of this stuff's going to be kind of out of order. But Mickey Mouse Capades, which I thought was fun. There was some really, I remember it being really difficult. I don't think I ever actually finished the game, but I just remember kind of thinking there was levels where if one of the characters would get hit and they would basically like die, you lose a life. Let's say Minnie, it's because it featured both Mickey and Minnie Mouse, and Mickey would let's say Minnie would get hurt and fall off into like the water, and then Mickey would just jump off too. It's like I'm like, why is Mickey jumping in the water after her? I mean maybe that obviously because you have to have both of them around, but when one of them got defeated, the other one would kind of all automatically like die as well. But that was Mickey Mouse Capades. What else do we have here? Certain notable games. Um, Other notable games that I owned Battletoads. Never really got past the speeder bike level. I don't know if it's called the speeder bike level, but the third level where you're on like the little like jet bikes. I was never able to really beat that. I think I like took it over to a friend's. We used the Game Genie to get infinite lives, and then we were able to beat it that way. But Battletoads, really good game. Very very hard. Um, that speeder bike level though, I just remember being incredibly difficult. So other games I own, so I own both Zelda 1 and 2, Mario 1, 2, and 3, Punch Out, which I actually just played today on the Switch because it's part of the newest update for the classic NES games. Um, Punch Out was really good. I played Mike Tyson's Punch Out. My uncle had Mike Tyson's Punch Out, but by the time I got Punch Out, I think it was 1990, and it was just called Punch Out, and Mike Tyson had been taken out of the game and replaced with Mr. Dream. Game basically is the same up until that point. I think that's the only major difference is that Mike Tyson has been switched out for Mr. Dream. So I had Punch Out. I had Bart Simpson versus or remember playing the first Simpsons game, but got the Bart versus the World game, which I really liked. Looking back at it, I don't think it's an amazing game, but I remember it being quite fun at the time. This was like 1992, I think, is when I got that game because it was my. I remember I got it for my birthday from my grandparents, the same ones that got me Mario or Zelda and Mario 2. So got Bart versus the World for my birthday. I was like when I was 12. I also had Rad Racer 2, which was all right, I guess. My friend gave me his copy of the Ghostbusters game. I think it's based on. I think it was available on computer, maybe in Apple computers. I think it was also available on the Sega Master System. I remember beating it. Not a particularly good game, but I really like Ghostbusters, so my friend just gave it to me. I also had the Seven Up Spot game, which was basically like a board game, and it was. I think it's basically like Othello or Reversi. You would basically move. There's like tiles on a board. You would put a piece down, and if it was connected to any adjacent pieces that were your opponent's color, it would flip them to be yours. So I think it was basically like their version of Othello. I also really liked, as far as Nintendo board games or or video board games, was Anticipation. The kind of board game meets Pictionary kind of thing, where you would have it's a word game. Basically, the computer will draw an image for you in a certain category, and you would then guess what the word was. You'd have to spell it out. You were allowed just a couple of mistakes in spelling out the word, and then I believe when it got on the higher difficulties, there would be some where you would actually have dots on the screen, and those dots were like connected dot kind of things. I think on the higher difficulties it didn't have those, and I mean I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I played it, but I remember it would draw an image and you would have to guess it, and then there were again multiple categories. Where it was like I think there was like miscellaneous, um, like leisure and so on. But really liked Anticipation. Thought that was like a really good party game. I actually mostly played this up by myself, but I remember playing Anticipation with my sister, and we both really liked it. And then there was also some really good games that I didn't own. So also I also had Back to the Future 2 and 3, which I never finished. I never really understood what I was even doing in the game. I remember it being like you're jumping on like hamburgers and fighting weird stuff in the future, and then there's a whole part where it was in the West from the third film, but don't really recall a whole lot about that game. A bunch of games that I rented that I didn't own were Mega Man 2. Probably my favorite game, at least on the NES side, was Mega Man 2. Um, Never bought DuckTales, like I mentioned earlier. Remember playing Blaster Master, thinking that was cool. That's available on the Switch now as well. That's part of the NES Classic Collection. Um, the two, I don't know if they did a third, but I remember the NES Star Wars games. I remember playing the one based on Episode 4 and the one based on Episode 5. They were pretty difficult from what I remember. I don't think I ever got past the Hoth levels on Empire Strikes Back, because I think it was the Hoth levels you were basically exploring these ice caves with Luke on the Tauntaun, and then you had to deal with the AT-8 with the AT-ATs, and then I think you go to Dagobah, do some stuff there, and then eventually go to Cloud City. The one based on Episode 4, I remember you were basically driving around in a land speeder, going to different caves. I think you were trying to find Obi-Wan, and then you got to Mos Eisley, where I think you start playing as Han. I eventually went back. Remember, rented that game in 1991, and then rented it again in like 1993 from like a different, like another video store, and was able to use a game genie to actually like get further in the game. I still never ended up beating it though. That's one thing about the NES. The NES games, even games that are based on like kid like stuff that was for kids, not necessarily Star Wars, but just like Ducktales and so on. What games were more? I feel like they were more challenging back then. Depending, it didn't matter what the IP was that was behind it. If like again, a Star Wars game could be really difficult. A Ducktales game could be really difficult. Speaking of this goes into the SNES category, but I remember talking to somebody about the Tiny Toons SNES game, and for a game based on a kids cartoon, how difficult it actually was. But let's see where we were. So yeah, I also again I've mentioned it a few times, but I did have a Game Genie as well, which definitely made a lot more games more interesting. I remember like going back through um, like The Legend of Zelda to where I could just basically have unlimited money and unlimited health, stuff like that. We did it with Battletoads with unlimited lives and so on. So that's all I really have for the NES. It's definitely the console I think as a kid that I played the most. I think I had the most games on it. Between that and then a few years later I ended up getting a Super Nintendo, which I played. I don't want. I want to say I played it a little bit less probably than the Super Nintendo. So next episode, I'm not sure if I'm going to go into right directly into the Super Nintendo talk, or if I'm going to maybe focus on a game series that I've played. Like thinking of doing one of these from like my experience with Metal Gear Solid or Metal Gear series, because there's other games besides just the Solid games, but Metal Gear, maybe Call of Duty, um, maybe Mario, maybe Zelda. But I might just do the Super Nintendo video next. I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing, but if you have a suggestion, just leave it in the comments below. If you want me to cover like a certain console, things like that. I'm probably going to go in order of acquiring them. So if I do another console video, it'll be the Super Nintendo, and then it would be the N64, the PlayStation 2, the Xbox and GameCube, and then Xbox GameCube. Then I got like a 360, 360 Wii, and then I think Switch. I think, yeah, because I didn't own a PS4 or a PS3, and I haven't bought any other newer consoles since, or aside from the Switch. So no Xbox One or no PS4 and no PS4. But if you have like a thing you would like me to potentially talk about, just put it in the comments below and I'll take a look at it. That's gonna do it for this video. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching and take care.